Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Jordan and I'm the Marketing Manager at Canadian Fertility Consulting. Today we're here with the founder and CEO of Canadian Fertility Consulting and Egg Helpers, Leia Swanberg. And Leia has some amazing information for you today on budget versus reality. Now, before we get started, we're just going to wait for a few more people to join us. I would just like to say that we are recording this webinar today, so everyone who registered will be sent a recording afterwards, along with an email with some helpful resources. We are also taking questions live today, and Leah will be doing a live Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, please send them in using the GoToWebinar questions tool. If you have any connection issues, please call in using the phone number provided in your registration email. All right, let's get started. I'll pass it over to you, Leah.
Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you for attending our webinar. I often get asked this question: how much does surrogacy cost? What should I save? When should I save? Are there loans available to people who are looking to build their family this way? And so I wanted to start out by sort of giving an overview and then answering any specific questions that you may have. So when to start planning is often what I'm asked first. And so many people go into this process and many people have a different way of doing so. And so for me, my suggestion always is to plan early. If you are a same-sex male couple or a heterosexual couple who knows that surrogacy is going to be the way that you will build your family, or egg donation will be the way you build your family, or a combination of both, start asking questions early. Now, when I say early, I don't mean 3 years away, because prices change, clinic processes change, but I would say within about a 12-month period, you are good in terms of, when to, the cost sort of stays generally the same. And so when I talk about planning, I really want to talk about, where are you going to get this money? Are you going to get this money from a bank and take a more traditional line of credit, second mortgage? Are you going to family and friends? Are you going to start a GoFundMe? What does that look like for you? Because my number one suggestion is go to your funding source once and once only. A, because there are fees. B, because you don't want to alienate your family. And C, because it's really tough to keep going back and sort of bringing up that anxiety about, how am I going to talk to people? How am I going to go to the bank again? Those types of things. So really figure out a budget. If you don't have a spreadsheet going regarding your surrogacy or egg donor journey, start one. Start one today. And when you look at it from a couple of perspectives. Many intended parents I speak to say things like, well, I don't know if I need an agency. I can manage this on my own. Absolutely, you can. However, if you are a super busy person and are paid by the hour or paid by salary in your employment, and you look at how many hours you imagine this is going to take to arrange your journey, that time is valuable. And working with an agency, whether it's an egg donor agency, whether it's a surrogacy agency, they will fast track these items for you, because they are not just one person calling a clinic. They are the 100 files that they referred this last 3 months, this last quarter, whatever it is. They have that buying power. So they're able to get you in more quickly and to get you a level of service that you deserve. And so I always say to people, we can all work longer, we can all work harder, we can all make more money. What we can't get back is time. What we can't get back is the 3 months that we spent chasing and organizing and trying to get the birth records of the surrogate to get to the clinic and all of those pieces. So really look at, time versus cost. And there are some people that, really like, they're a project manager in their job. They can do this. They have some flexibility with their work schedule during the day. They're able to make personal phone calls. If you are that person, you can do this independently and you can save your agency fee. And I'm going to tell you how to do it. So the first thing is Go to your HR department. If you are employed with a mid to large size organization, your HR department has a policy around family building. And if they don't, they want one, because they know that companies like Amazon, Google, Starbucks, those organizations have money set aside for alternative family building. And whether you are, regardless of why you're working with a surrogate or an egg donor, they don't care. They don't care about that. This is the policy, and here's how you access these funds. So talk to your HR. If you're nervous about talking to your HR, download your 100-page HR policy, because if nothing else, drugs are likely covered. The medication for an IVF cycle with a surrogate and egg donor, or yourself and a surrogate, typically is about $5,000. Now, your drug plan will cover that, because these medications are for your benefit. So if your clinic writes a receipt for the medication that you purchase from them in your name, you will then submit it to your drug plan company, Great West Life, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whoever that is. There also may be money available, as I said, for IVF, for some of the testing, for some of the genetic testing. Look into that, because we have had clients that have said, no, I don't think my work covers it. We've pressed them. They've ended up saving, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, which is a huge amount of money, especially when you're getting started. And what often we find people do in order to really manage their budget is they create the embryos. Let's go step by step. So create the embryos first, whether that's for yourself and you're going through your own IVF cycle, or whether that's with a donor. Creating those embryos first, and then moving forward, once you've recouped, regained, resaved, had a garage sale, whatever it is, sold your house, moved, then move forward with the surrogacy. So I'm going to back up a little bit about the next piece of advice. The legal process regarding surrogacy and egg donation is the most important process. It is so imperative that we will send you, and a good agency will send you away without a lawyer. They will say, you need to talk to a lawyer first. You need to be sure that you are legally covered in your community, your jurisdiction, as well as in Canada. And you may live in Toronto, your clinic may be in Toronto, your surrogate may be in Ontario, and you're good. But if you are watching this webinar and you are outside of Canada, whether it's in the US, Australia, Spain, Japan, China, wherever you live, we are going to send you away to talk to a lawyer, because we do not want to waste your money. And if a lawyer in your jurisdiction says, you know what, Canada is not a good fit for you, then you don't want to engage in Canada. You don't want to engage with an egg donor agency. You don't want to engage with a surrogacy agency. And you don't need to engage with a lawyer in Canada. Your lawyer in your community trumps all of it. From there, your lawyer says Canada's great, it's safe, unlike the Ukraine, babies are traveling home even amidst COVID. Let's move forward. Great. Speak to a lawyer in Canada. Why that's important? Again, to ensure that the Canadian lawyer puts language in your contract that not only covers you, in Canada, but also in your jurisdiction. So again, really important to have a lawyer on board who can help you manage this. It can be very expensive, and this is why I'm talking about budget versus reality. It can be very expensive if you may. It can be very expensive post-birth if you didn't have the legal agreement you needed in place. And that's for Canadian clients as well. If you have a lawyer who is your family's business lawyer, and they're going to create a legal agreement for surrogacy, but they don't know what a legal agreement for surrogacy is, you may have saved some money there. But when your child arrives and the lawyer that you have to hire to go to court for you or to, process your application within Canada says, whoa, 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 you need to start from scratch, you will end up spending more money. Lawyers, not a spot to to cut corners. And I hope that with my advice on the HR and the medication and all of that, you will have that dialed in. Now, if you're self-employed, talk to your accountant. Talk to your accountant about setting up an HSA, a health spending account, in which you can, transfer money there and then pay the clinic, and really create the ability to use your money in an efficient way. I'm not an accountant. I love my accountant because she knows these things. So definitely talk to your accountant about how you can move through the surrogacy process with the least amount of tax implications as possible. Okay. Next, going to a fertility clinic can be super intimidating. Many of us have white coat syndrome. We sit there and the doctor's across from us and they're telling us how everyone gets pregnant and they're so excited and everything's great, great, great. And we're just like, watching a train wreck. We don't know how to even understand or take in the information. Or do we? Because we have become informed consumers. Yes, this is a medical process, but this is not free. And you need to ensure that you understand every financial implication. When I talk about that, what I mean is there's this new trend every clinic is offering, a guarantee. This is a guarantee that you will have a live birth for X number of dollars. That sounds amazing. That sounds fantastic. It sounds like I'm only going to pay one price and I'm going to have a baby. You would think that. However, where that falls short is that it does not appreciate, the doctor does not appreciate, the clinic does not appreciate that your surrogate lives in Calgary, Alberta. And if your first transfer doesn't work and we need to bring her back, and if she doesn't become pregnant and you need another surrogate, or your egg donor doesn't have enough eggs that turn into embryos. So asking about that guarantee and really kind of going, okay, if this doctor says that their success rate is like this, I need to kind of go, okay, and it's going to cost me this. And this is the clinic. And then over here, I'm going to write down surrogates travel, additional services that the clinic offers, and asking the clinic, hey, in your guaranteed program, does it include intralipids? Because you just told me that was really important. Does it include testing was super important? Does it include the screening of a second surrogate? Because just in case my first surrogate doesn't work out. So asking the questions about what is included in a guarantee. Because listen, we've done the math and a guaranteed cycle makes sense. Every time it makes sense. However, when we looked at 100 cycles, and imagine we do, 30, 35 cycles a month. So when we looked at 100 and we just pulled randomly 100 cycles, it made sense for people to go with a guarantee. It didn't make sense for everyone. So are you in that 85% of the people it's going to make sense for, or the 15% that it's not? Chances are you're in the 85%. However, we want to make sure that you have asked the questions, that you are a fully informed consumer, and that before you sign that guaranteed package documentation, you understand it. You have had the opportunity to ask your questions, because it is imperative that you know what is included and what is excluded. And that is any clinic across the board. If you're watching this and you're curious about what I mean, please reach out to me and I can explain in more detail. I want to go now to the egg donor process. So you're looking for an egg donor and you're trying to figure out how much it's going to cost. and the egg donor agencies you're talking to are saying, well, it depends on the donor you pick, and we're not really sure. And there's sort of these questions. Ask every question. Get on the phone. The best way to communicate for all of this, I know that in your mind you're thinking, well, I need it to be in writing. Cool. Send the follow-up email after, but have the conversation in real life, either in front of or on the phone. Skype, telephone, whatever. Ask all your questions, ask for clarification, ask for further details, ask for understanding, and then send an email. Thank you so much for this call. During this call, I understood the the blah, 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 the la, la, la. And, I just want to clarify. I want to confirm that I've got everything.
Hi, Leah, are you still there?
Donor agency.
Hi, Leah. It looks like we may have a short technical issue. Just wondering if you'd be able to repeat a few of the parts that you've just mentioned.
Sure. So having the conversation by phone or in person, reiterating what you've heard, ensuring that the finance department at the clinic, the finance department at your egg donor agency, and even at your surrogacy agency, making sure you understand the implications of a guaranteed cycle, understanding from your egg donor agency what is included, what is excluded. If your donor becomes unwell, is that covered for her post-birth care? Post retrieval care, should she develop ovarian hyperstimulation? Really just asking those tough questions. And then, finally, when you're working with a surrogacy agency, you'll get a sort of brief breakdown, but I would really challenge that agency. Tell them you're filling out a spreadsheet. You've got a limited budget to work with, and so you want to ensure and balance it, balance your surrogate's location with, with your clinic's location versus when your baby is born, and is it cheaper to stay in Alberta? Can you work remotely from Vancouver? So it actually makes more sense to have a surrogate who is further from the clinic, but closer to you geographically. So really working through all of those kinks, and asking your, case manager, or if you've been introduced to a surrogate independently, or if you found someone on the internet, really work through what the costs associated with that particular surrogate look like. If she lives in Vancouver and your clinic is in Toronto, okay, how will we get her to the clinic? How many times will she need to attend? Really working out those kinks. Is bed rest a possibility? Of course it is. Pregnancy is inherently dangerous. I've been pregnant 7 times and had 8 babies. Every pregnancy was very different for me. And so I want to encourage people to really be sure, what are the additional costs for our surrogate if she's on bed rest? Oh, she's a nurse, those costs are likely high. Maybe we are looking for a surrogate who is a stay-at-home mom who doesn't have such high cost. Or maybe that cost doesn't matter because we budgeted it. And having a budget, and I always say to people, have a budget and add 20%. Because there is always this 20% floating factor that I talk about. And many people don't ever need it. And if you don't need it, great. But if you do, you want to have it available to you. I often get asked, are there loans available through financial institutions? What we've seen sort of as a trend over the last few years within Canada and as well as other places in the world, if surrogacy is available to you in the country in which you live, yes, banks will often do like a family building loan, an adoption loan. If surrogacy is not available to you where you live, likely the answer is no. And so before you go to the bank, do your research. And if it's a no, let's not try to change the banking world. It's just not going to happen. As you know, as many of us know, the bank is the bank is the bank, and they do the things that they do the way they do them, and that's that. And so my suggestion would be to, go ahead with a line of credit, second mortgage, some way of, getting money, but without necessarily having to talk about surrogacy or egg donation or family building. If it is something that you worry, within your community is not a thing, or you researched your bank's sort of available funds or loans, and it's just a no. So definitely look into that. Now, as your pregnancy progresses, as you move forward with your own pregnancy, if you've had an egg donor and are carrying your own child, typically, once you are pregnant on your own with an egg donor cycle, that's it. So your money is spent, your embryos are frozen. But it's really important to, if you move, update your information, let your clinic know where you are, because you likely have embryos there that you may use in the future for yourself or for a surrogate, or you may donate. But really, really important, if you're pregnant through surrogacy and you have an ongoing pregnancy and you're really trying to manage cost, don't talk to your surrogate about it, whether you're working independently or not. Find a third party to hold your money. Insulating the relationship between you and your surrogate is so important. And we find that money can very easily muddle the relationship. It can muddy the waters. It's really, really tough. And so our suggestion all the time is do not talk about money. So lean in on your agency, ask them, get curious. Okay, what are the expenses looking like? It looks like the last few months she hasn't requested any reimbursement. Can you check in with her? Yes, we know where we're at financially. And to really just follow that, I hate to call it a paper trail, but follow that paper trail. Stay really connected with the finance department within your surrogacy agency, so that if your surrogate hasn't requested money for the first 3 months of pregnancy, it's probably because she's been so sick and she hasn't had a chance to get her receipts together. But that doesn't mean that months 4 through 10, she isn't going to request plus 1 through 3. So always imagining whatever estimate you were given is going to be the cost. And if it isn't, great, but knowing that 9.999 times out of 10, it is the cost. And agencies are really great at providing you estimates, and just to know that that is likely the cost. That's likely what you're going to spend. I really think that is it. I wanted to just do a quick webinar, just a kind of a quick catch up on where to save, where to spend, where not to cut corners. Lawyers are super important through this entire process, and they're the first stop, second stop clinic, third egg donor agency if you need one, surrogacy agency if you need one. And we will all help to manage, and we will all help to steward your money as though it's our own, and really making sure that that we are, supporting you and, providing information, providing you with the most up-to-date information on cost, on, what clinics are suggesting, whether it's intralipids. Look at the studies on intralipids. They show no difference in success rates if intralipids are used. Look at the studies on PGTA or PGS, they called it last year. So pre-genetic screening of embryos. Look at the studies and go, I'm using an egg donor, have a surrogate. This is $5,000. Is that $5,000 well spent? And for many of you, the answer will be a clear yes. But for some of you, that may be a no. And if it's a no, then save yourself the $5,000. Don't just go with, don't just agree with, don't just appreciate what the clinic says. Really, really become informed. Become an informed consumer. Get on the Facebook groups. Get on, the internet. I never suggest Dr. Google. However, for additional tests and things that clinics are offering, I think it's important to really, appreciate and understand the success rates or lack thereof of these sort of additional treatments that clinics are offering. So that's all I have. Jordan, do we have any questions?
Hi, Leah. Yes, first I'd just like to start off that many of our attendees have sent in thank you messages for holding this webinar today. They feel that it's a really important topic to know about and understand unexpected expenses. The first question I'd like to move into, they were wondering, do you know of any clinics where international intended parents are not charged for NICU? NICU, I believe.
Oh, okay. So in terms of when your baby is born, no. Canadian hospitals charge intended parents who travel from outside of Canada. They do charge because you aren't paying taxes into our social health care system, and our health care is reserved for those who are paying system. However, Allianz, which is an amazing insurer, they have insurance that are fantastic and will cover NICU care. We have had several recent cases where babies have either come early, or there's been a few cases where babies have been born unwell, required surgery in Canada, and all of that has been covered by the Allianz policy. So we can definitely send you information if you want to just let us know your email address. We can introduce you to Virginia Hart at Art Risk Insurance, and she can discuss with you your insurance needs.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. We have an intended parent who is wondering, in the case where they with a surrogate, but that surrogate match doesn't work out for a certain reason, and they are on rematch, is that included in any way in a warranty or contract with the agency?
So it will depend. So if each agency sort of manages their own process differently. And so you really need to look at your consulting agreement, but oftentimes if it is no fault of the intended parents, that rematch is free. If the surrogate has done a few embryo transfers without success and you're, what we call restarting your journey because you've had failed transfers and you're, getting a new surrogate, that often there's a cost associated with that. But definitely connect with your lawyer in Canada to reach out to advocate for you with your agency, whether that's our agency or another one.
Okay, great, thank you. And the next question's a bit long, so I'm just going to read it out for you. They say, we understand that new Health Canada regulations place an expiry date on certain tests for donors and surrogates. Due to different factors, including COVID, some tests expire and need to be redone. We see this creates a delay and a domino effect on other tests with expiration dates. What contingency would you recommend for this type of testing simply due to expiry, not results?
Absolutely. So it's really important that, and I did a webinar on, gosh, Jordan, what was that called? Project Managing Your Journey, I think. One of the key pieces is, to really manage that with the clinic. So, if things have been closed for you because of COVID and now your clinic's saying, yeah, we can get started, the expiration date on blood work is, and vaginal swabs and cultures is 6 months. And so if, you want to be bugging your clinic, you want to be making a note, okay, my donor or surrogate went for blood work on February 5th. I know March, April, May. In May, maybe June, so maybe month 4, we want to bring that forward to them again, because while the clinic is great and they're going to take care of you, you want to manage that. You want to make sure that at month 4, you're saying, hey, clinic, can you send my surrogate for new blood work in her community? Great, because we know those results could take 3 weeks to come back, and we don't want any further delays for you. So I think managing your clinic, regarding tests, whether they're up to date or not up to date, is really, really important.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's all we have for today. I'll definitely say that we'll send along the How to Project Manage Your Journey webinar in the link along with this one, because that's a great one to watch along with this.
Excellent. So thank you, everyone. Please reach out directly. I know there's a lot of questions that are very case specific. I would love to answer them for you. I would love to help you become an informed consumer. Even if it's with my agency, with someone else's agency, how can we help you get the best results and really be able to budget, really be able to figure out what costs may look like for you as you move forward with this process. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much for participating in our webinar today.